Oh, but I've seen the movie, I don't need to read the book. Wrong. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Faith and thank you so much for watching. I have read and loved hundreds of books throughout my life, and as much as I wish that everybody loved the books that I loved, obviously that's just not how it works. And there are so many books that I've read where it's like, you know what, yeah, if you don't like this genre, you probably won't like this book. That being said, there are some books that I've read where I think everybody should read them at least once in their life. And that is what we're going over today. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first book we have is Jurassic Park. If you know me, this should not be surprising to you at all. If you've seen my videos before, I have made it extremely clear that Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time and my favorite book of all time. But no, I'm not just including this because I'm biased. I truly believe this is one of the best books that has ever been written. The themes that this book touches on are so important and very relevant to today's world. But Faith, it's a book about dinosaurs. Yes, obviously, the book has dinosaurs. It is one of the many reasons why I love it so much. However, this book is not about dinosaurs. This book explores themes of corporate greed, human hubris, the consequences of playing God, the consequences of profiting off nature, the consequences of performing science without ethics, the consequences of advancing technology without knowing what the hell you're doing. Basically, a lot of consequences. And literally so much more. The book just uses the idea of bringing dinosaurs back to life in a way to portray those themes. And I'll say, I think that was a great idea because it is very engaging and entertaining while also being very educational. Oh, but I've seen the movie, I don't need to read the book. Wrong. Like I said, Jurassic Park is literally my favorite movie of all time. This book, of course, is sci-fi, but it is also horror. The movie took out and changed so many parts of this book to make it more family friendly. The movie changes things like what character lives and dies. A ton of the characterization is changed. And honestly, there are just a ton of scenes in the book that aren't in the movie at all. The book goes significantly deeper into all of those themes compared to the movie. The movie still does a great job at it in my opinion, but because of how much more there is in the book, I do think it's kind of easier to get those themes in the book, if that makes sense. And you know what guys? I may be biased. I don't really care. I love this book so much and I genuinely believe that everybody needs to read it at least once. And then we have another one that I absolutely adore, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Again, seeing the movie is not the same as reading the book. This book explores everything. Love, life, loss, grief, family, friendships, girlhood, individuality, becoming a woman, growing up. So much is in this book. And yes, I did say becoming a woman because that is a huge part of this book. That doesn't mean if you're not a woman, you shouldn't read this. This book explores all of those themes and more in such a beautiful way. And it's important to note here that Little Women is actually two separate books. And when most people refer to Little Women, they are referring to both Little Women and The Good Wives. Little Women is the part where the girls are younger, and The Good Wives is when they're older, Amy's in Europe, Meg's getting married, all that stuff. So when I say everybody needs to read Little Women, I do actually mean everybody needs to read Little Women and The Good Wives. If you have a physical copy of Little Women, odds are you also have a copy of The Good Wives. I literally have 5 copies of Little Women and all but one of them are both Little Women and The Good Wives. If you read Little Women and noticed that there's a part 2 or it says something like, "So grouped, the curtain falls upon Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. Whether it ever rises again depends upon the reception given to the first act of the domestic drama called Little Women." That is the end of Little Women, and the rest of the book is The Good Wives. And with what I'm about to say, I'm going to refer to them as Little Women and The Good Wives separately. Little Women explores a lot more of the friendship and girlhood part of things, and The Good Wives explores a lot more of the individuality and becoming a woman side of things, though they do still both explore all the themes. This is genuinely one of the best, most touching books that I have ever read. I read it for the first time when I was 22, and I feel like I learned so much. Literally, no matter how old you are, you will learn something from this book. And I actually can't believe I forgot to say one of the most important themes of this book, which is feminism. It was written in the 1800s, so it's definitely not modern feminism, but it is feminism nonetheless. And I actually am pretty sure that it was fairly progressive for the time. But again, it's called Little Women. Like I said, it explores themes of girlhood and womanhood. That does not mean if you're not a woman, you shouldn't read it. Woman or not, you're gonna read this book. Thank me later. And the last book that we have that I think everybody needs to read at least once in their life is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And for the third and final time, no, watching the movie is not the same as reading the book. But with this book specifically, you need to read it as an adult. I did a video a long time ago talking about my reading journey throughout my life, and if you saw that, you might happen to remember that I used to be not the best reader. I read this book in 6th grade, I read it again in 7th grade, I attempted Catching Fire in 7th grade, I could not get through it. But I read it a couple years ago as an adult, and oh my gosh. I'm not saying that as a child it wasn't horrific, because obviously the concept of this book, children killing children, is horrific, but let's be real, when you're in middle school, high school, whatever, you feel like an adult. Regardless of how many people say, oh, you're a kid, you're a kid, you're a kid, you feel like an adult. But when you're older than that, you look back and be like, wow, I really was just a kid. Reading it as an adult when you are older than the people in the games is just another kind of horrific. Like, these are babies being forced against their will to kill each other to survive. It is truly disgusting. And yes, I'm sitting here saying that this book is horrific and disgusting while also telling you that you need to read this book. Because regardless of how horrific or disgusting it may be, the themes in this book are incredibly important and incredibly relevant to today's world. Obviously, this book explores themes of war and rebellion, but it also explores themes like propaganda, using suffering as entertainment, inequality, and using fear as a control tactic. And when I say that this book is relevant in today's society, obviously I don't mean that the government is hosting a Hunger Games. But that doesn't mean that there are certain themes in parts of this book that are relevant to today's world. For some reason, a lot of people this summer were saying, oh, it's the year of the first Hunger Games. Like saying that this book takes place in 2026. I don't know where people got that. I'm assuming somebody just said it and then people started running with it. But that just isn't true. And Suzanne Collins actually intentionally didn't put a date on this book so that it could feel timeless and it was like something that could happen in a near future. That's not me saying that the Hunger Games are going to start up soon. Point blank period, the message of this book is very important, and I don't want to say it spreads that message in an entertaining way because that kind of feels too capital-like, but let's face it, it's a very engaging book. And to wrap this all up, I'll say, again, watching the movie is not the same as reading the book. And of all the books that I read, those are the books that really stick out to me that everybody needs to read. And I really hope to read more books in the future that I think everybody should read. But guys, that is all that I have for you today. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow my Instagram and my TikTok, which are in the description below for more bookish content. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Love you guys. Bye!